All right, so we're continuing on with our build. Right now we have the chassis should be all put together. We are going to start putting some motors together. So we have motors come with the motor itself, and then we have these quad blocks, and then we have the pinion gear on here. We're not going to worry about the screws too much in this. They could be useful at times to model like that level of detail, but for what we're doing, it'll probably be fine to not do that. There might be times when the screw heads might get in the way of something, so you do want to be really precise and include those in there. But in this case, we're just not going to worry about that for right now. So let's see, the three things we need to have in here. We need to have this pinion bevel gear. We need to have a quad block, and then we need to include the motor. So we're just going to do some SKU imports on here. I think I'm going to skip that in the video. Hopefully you can do that by yourself by now, unless something interesting happens, in which case I'll show you. So I said I'd show you anything interesting. Not that interesting. There are a couple different versions on here. I think I would select any of the ones that are not in progress. Looks like V13, looks like the more recent version. As long as it's all matches up with what we have in here. Yeah, looks good. So I'm going to grab this one down here. One thing you'll see, there's nothing in Parts Studios. So just basically that means like it's not a single part. It is like an assembly of parts that all put together to make the motor work. So we can go over here into assemblies, and we can find our jacket in here, our yellow jacket in here. We're just going to build one of these, and then so I'll put in like one set of parts, and then same way as we made copies of the crossbar, we'll make a sub-assembly, and then we will make copies of the full assembled piece. So next up, I'm just going back in here. I'm going to grab the pinion bevel gear and the quad block. If anything interesting happens, I'll pause and show you, but otherwise we're just going to import those. All right, so we got all the pieces in here. You can see my three parts that I really need in here, and then I'm going to work on assembling those. I just want to look really carefully at this. If you look at the document here, you can see that the quad block has parts that are threaded and not threaded. We want to make sure that we're putting the not threaded part onto the threading on here. Might not seem like it matters, but I think it tends to mess up your design if if you put the threading on the other one, I think it tends to not lock together as well, but let's take a look at that and see how it works. So I might just show this one, and then I might leave you and just skip ahead to the bevel part. Let's see how this works though, if we have any challenges. So I'm just going to choose one of these. Actually, yeah, this one can be a little bit tricky. We really want to make sure, if you look at these things, I think it's not quite oval. You can see there's a little flat spot in here. It's not a perfect circle. So as we do this, we want to make sure, I'm going to put my fasten mate, I'm going to make sure that it is, see it's kind of jumping around on me. I want to get right there. I don't want it there. It's going to be down a little bit. I really got to be cautious about where I put this mate. I want it to be right in the center. It's like almost there. So frustrating. All right, so I found it was helpful if I do my fasten mate. If I really zoom in on this, I feel like it gives me better. I don't know why, that makes it so much easier. But I really want to click on the inside of that part, and then I'm going to line this up with one of the bolt holes on here. It looks slightly different. These are like the newer version of the motors than what we use typically, but they'll be fine. Again, just want to make sure it's aligned on the center here. All right, let's see what we're doing. It looks not too bad. I think looks like they're flush. They haven't kind of melded together. Let's see if we do a rotate on here. There might be some good options to show some other skills, but no, these look like these lined up correctly. You want to look at things like the center of the circle. Are they, is it kind of symmetry? Is it like centered right in the middle of there? Are these holes all lined up? That all looks good to me. So we have that done. Great, that's one done. Now we need to attach the bevel gear on here. The bevel gear might be a little bit trickier. Let's see about this. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to try and, because like, again, it's not a circle. It's a D shaft, right? So it's a circle with like a little bit of a line to it. We're going to try and do the mate. We're going to do a fasten mate. Make sure we're getting the center on there. Let's see, maybe this will be easy enough. There is one thing I want to show on this one that might be slightly different than what we've done so far. All right. There's two things that I want to do here. One, these aren't lining up because it's treating them both as a circle. It's kind of ignoring the fact that there is there's the flat part, the flat part of the D shaft. So I think if I rotate this, is that going to work? Rotation might actually, that actually makes them line up just right. Perfect. Okay, rotation helps with that, gets the two parts lined up. I don't really care about that level of detail. I think for us that's probably not important. But one thing I do want to do is I want to actually, if we look at how we assemble these motors, they're actually going to kind of slide. We're going to be able to slide this up and down a little bit to make sure, like here, it's not exactly flush with the end, or it might be like a little bit down on the axle of this motor. So what we can do here, like it's not exactly flush flat here. what we can do is we can do a little offset. So we can offset, we can say, yeah, fasten these together, but also make sure we want to shade a little bit in one direction or the other. We can see in the middle here, hopefully, I don't know if you can see those letters in the video, but there's an X, a Y, and a Z, X, Y, Z. So we want to move this in the Z direction a little bit. We can change this by like 1 centimeter. Enter. Ooh, we're gonna be way far off. Looks like we need to do negative and probably far less than 1 centimeter. So maybe like negative 0.1 centimeter. We can say okay. And now we have that part located in there and it's off a little bit flush off there. That's just something you might want to mess around with later on as we do this. If we ever want to go back and change that, we can go into here, we can hit edit, and we can change that offset to make it a little bit larger. We're not going to go crazy with doing this, but it is a good tool to have in your pocket. So next up, all I need to do is just create a set of motors from these, and then we'll move on to the next part. So we're just going to make a sub-assembly out of here. I'm going to grab all these parts, make a sub-assembly. We're going to call that sub-assembly, change, oopsie. We're going to change the properties on that to motor. And we're going to make a couple of those. I'm going to leave the part. We're just going to mount these inside. Oh, I think I deleted one too many. Delete this guy. I'm going to mount this into this in the shaft. You can stop now if you know how to do that. Otherwise, I'll show you at least doing the first one, and then you can move on and do the rest on your own. But you can step if you feel like you got this. You can stop now. So for those of you are left here, we're going to look at like where this should be located at. I see like I think it's going to be 0, 1, 2, 3 holes, and then +1. So I'm going to take one of these motors. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to fasten one of these mates together. Oh, I should grab the wrong spot on here. I got to be careful. Make sure I'm getting the center. Grab that. And then we're going to locate this inside of the motor. It shows that thing. So it should be 1, 2, 3 +1. Maybe like this. Flip it. Solve. Let's see if it looks good. All right, it looks good. We can always go back and edit these later on if we're off on our hole. We can just change the mate. I'm gonna stop the video now. I'm gonna do the other ones. It's gonna be the exact same process. So I'm gonna do that off camera.